So my name is Michael Pollard, and I'm Business Director here on the Indies patch at DCM. DCM, we are basically handle all the UK advertising, nearly all the UK advertising for cinema. We take care of the big three, so View, Odeon and Cineworld. Then we also take care of a number of the independents as well, including Curzon, Everyman and Picture House. So a lot of our job is done working with media agencies and with clients and with creative agencies to get their brands and their campaigns on the big screen. So got here on the 1st of May 2015. I only know that because I have to fill it out every time I go through Gatwick. And started working here in June. So I was actually quite lucky. I came in and interviewed and actually started working within a month. So, and I've been here ever since. From Sydney, specifically Bondi. So I'm actually fourth generation Bondi. So bit of a change, not many beaches around here, but a little bit colder, but still love it. So I actually started in the back of the classifieds working for the lovely Rupert Murdoch in news and selling to tradies in the back of the Wentworth Courier, which is one of the papers in Sydney when I was 19. I did about a year of university in Charles Sturt and then moved from that paper to working for Mindshare when I was 20 and worked there for 4 years, which was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. Great culture, one of the best places to work at that time. And then moved from there to Zenith Optomedia for about a year, and then a couple of smaller independents. I then started to work at Val Morgan, which is basically the DCM equivalent, and they take care of all the cinema, actually the whole cinema market in Australia. And then I finished that and actually opened up my own outdoor business in Australia for a couple of years before moving to the UK in 2015. I actually came over in 2012 to the Olympics and just to sort of scout it out, so to speak, but absolutely loved it. I think I didn't realise how much I'd love London until I got here, and then fell in love with it again when I moved back in 2015. But I think the size of the market, especially the opportunities that were here, especially from a film point of view, compared to Sydney, there's so many more film opportunities available here. I think, for example, we're now Group M building, which is one of the biggest agencies in the whole of the media, is one building in Berry Street in North Sydney, whereas Mediacom's 7 levels here. So huge opportunity, yeah. Definitely the tone and the pace. I love the tone of it is that people probably a little bit more inquisitive over here, I find, whether it be clients or sort of agencies or even creative agencies as well, asking us and sort of pushing us to do things. And then also the pace of it as well. I think the pace of London's a lot quicker than it is in Sydney. So each sort of to their own, but I really, really enjoy that and find that that's what a lot of people sort of attracts a lot of people to London. There's always something to do sort of as well in the media industry here. There's so many more opportunities and so many more companies and so many more sort of different ideas as well. So there's sort of something for everyone, whether it be in cinema or sort of outdoor press or agency side. I think one of the best things about London is, I think, compared to, say, a Sydney where there are opportunities there, but they are sort of limited, and which does prompt people to look to places like London, as opposed to somewhere like in New York where it is just such fast pace and there's obviously quite a huge churn rate there as well. The London's quite unique in the sense of where it sort of stands, that it's big enough to really have great opportunity, but at the same time you can stand out and make yourself heard, which is a huge plus for anyone in their career. I think there's two things. I think geographically, I think London's great. I think that's only one thing you really start to appreciate when you're from the deep, deep south of the world, that it is quite an easy place to sort of get around if you need to. But at the same time, from a work point of view, I find that it definitely is the people. I had an opportunity to go home at the beginning of this year. And the big thing that really did keep me here was the fact that the people, and it's also the experience that a lot of people do have, and they can offer insight from different markets. I think it's one thing that we don't have enough in Sydney, and probably a lot of markets don't have that, which makes London quite unique. You get a lot of people with different perspectives, which sort of adds to the whole idea of what London is about. I think that's one of the key things that makes it unique, and probably one of the main priorities for people when they're looking to sort of branch out of their own market. If you do limit the amount of people that come into London, then you do start to close the perspective. And if you start to close that perspective, then the work becomes monotonous. And I think London, obviously the media industry wouldn't close overnight. The sun will still get up tomorrow. But without that sort of open perspective from different markets, it really would sort of suffer in the long run, especially from a creative point of view. as part of any move, you need to look at sort of, the bigger picture. I think one of the biggest things that Brexit sort of impacted, especially from an Australian point of view, is the sort of the finance part of it. I mean, overnight our exchange rate dropped from 203 down to 168. I think that's one thing that people definitely will sort of consider and think about. But I think one of the great things about London, the reason why I love it and I love the people here and I love the culture, is that's almost enough for me to stay and to look past that and to look to the work and to look to what you really want to better yourself and what you sort of want to enjoy every day. And London does offer something really unique that no one else does. And I think that's what really will attract more people, regardless of the situation that we're in and whatever does happen for the future. Yeah. One thing that London does do quite well is that, and this is probably for use of a better word, is it doesn't really discriminate, And I think that's a really big thing that I've found here, that it really is open to a lot of people when they voice their opinions wherever they sort of come from. I think continually from a media point of view, to ensure that we sort of encourage those people to come out and to sort of join sort of media jobs where they can. Keeping an open perspective is the biggest thing. A lot of markets can start to just become quite focused on everyday things and sort of become almost subject to their own culture, which can drive away from the overall sort of productivity of it, so to speak. I think London just to continue to sort of invest in that diversity. We've actually got quite a number of people, at least from the Commonwealth over here. So we've got Canadians, we've got Australians. And one of the things I actually did, there was a job came available recently, and one of the guys who I used to work with in Australia he wanted to come to London, and I actually just gave him a call and I literally sat into our screening room with him for 10 minutes, and all these things came out about how much I love London and I didn't realise. And then the next thing I know, 2 weeks later, he's in a plane here and he's actually sitting next to me in the next desk and we're going for lunch together. So I think that's testament to the point of how much I love it, that I actually wanted to bring someone over who I knew could work quite well and who would love it, and he's definitely here for the long haul now. Because we're not a huge company, we're only a company of about 70 people, that we do have specialists. So we do have a head of film who's Tom Lene, who's someone who's got a thirst for film I've never seen in my life, which I'd never find out, never meet someone like that unless I did come to London. But specifically, we do look to, if there are certain skills, for example, the Australian guy who came over, he's very systems based. And then at the moment, an example of him basically using his skills here is the fact that we're developing a number of systems, cinema systems for our bookings, and he's instrumental as part of that. So without him there, he's basically leading that. We'd obviously miss out on his sort of expertise and his perspective from a different market. One of the big things initially is that you do go onto a Tier 5 visa if you're under 30, which allows a lot of Australians to come here for 2 years and basically make their mind up and then enjoy the UK and then make their mind up on what they want to do next. What we do find though is that because there is a lack of opportunity for some companies to basically sponsor individuals, that they do go home. So London really does build a lot of these people up and actually give them a lot of expertise, and a lot of people I've worked with since they've returned to Sydney as well. But then they have to return home after the 2 years because their visa is up. It's just lucky that I was in a situation where DCM were a great company, and why I love to work for them so much is that they were able to sponsor me for my Tier 2 visa. And without that, I'd basically be forced to go home. One thing that happens when you go the other world by yourself, you become a lot more responsible and you take ownership of your work a lot more. I think there comes something with being in your own backyard that you can become quite sort of laid back because you know that things will be okay even if they're not. Definitely become a lot more sort of focused on what it is I want to do with my career, and I actually came to the situation when I came to London after working in an outdoor business and starting it for 2 years to go into outdoor, but making the decision specifically I wanted to go in film. And actually took a bit of a pay cut to make sure that I was going to work at DCM. So as part of that, I think it comes quite focused on what you want in life and what you want to do, and you start to work towards that a lot quicker than what you probably would if you're sort of in the comfort of your own home. It will be okay. The sun will get up tomorrow, but in saying that, it will never be as good as it could be. With limiting the amount of diversity that you bring into any market, you do start to close that perspective, and once you do close that perspective, unfortunately the work becomes monotonous, and doesn't just become monotonous for the advertiser, it becomes monotonous for agencies and everyone sort of affiliated with it. So I think it would be okay, but it would definitely limited its potential for the future.